Okay, we're going to do a quick garden check-in. It's been a few days since I did that last quick video where I showed a few things, but we'll go through and look at everything today. And just wanted to show you this beautiful dragonfly. We've had quite a few of those in the garden as well. So we can go ahead and start here with the acorn squash. It's still doing amazing, just like before. The vines are continuing to vine and grow out. I think I featured this section of a vine in the previous video, and you can see things are getting bigger and greener, growing more. Same with this one on this plant. This one is interesting. I certainly still think it's acorn squash because I don't mix my seeds up or anything like that, and it should have been in the baggie with the others, but it has continued to just be short like that in comparison to the others. See where they're growing, getting bigger, sort of. Initially I thought it was a sunlight issue, and then I'm like, well, I'm not sure. And the other thing with it is it's really not trailing out or vining out. See, like that. I didn't have an obelisk for that one to trail up and train up like we did with some of these others. So it's doing what it would do, which is just have a vine coming out and trailing along wherever it can. And this one has just stayed contained within itself. And then I noticed the other day, it's getting a little bit more color now, but acorn squash shaped, not at all acorn squash color. So I'm not sure. We will see. That one will be an interesting one. It could also just be a seed that didn't quite pollinate right. And even though the original acorn squash that I saved it from was a good acorn squash, maybe there was something in the genetics of the seed where it had cross-pollinated with something else that I had out here in the garden before. Certainly a possibility. I did a little maintenance on the strawberry plants before I started the video, just pulling a few weeds that are growing up in the dirt around them and trimming off some of the dead leaves. But otherwise they're doing well. I got a few more, not quite a full pint, but about a pint of strawberries off of them today. Here are my newest transplants, settling in well. And there are still plenty of green and white strawberries, and also pink about to turn red, such as that right there and that group there. So we're going to continue to have strawberries. And here were the 4 last minute cherry tomato plants that we got from our friends from church. They're certainly producing, doing well. They just now started to really sprout with the little green tomatoes. They're in that stage, and we've got some turning orange and red at a faster rate than we did previously. So that's great. We've enjoyed some of those already, and I've shared them with family that like them as well. I haven't really mentioned the potatoes and the potato plants much, and that is in large part because I really haven't been focusing on those this year in the garden. My attention has been on basically every other plant except these, or ones that were needy. Also, I feel really bad. These are very healthy potato plants right here. But I put potatoes in this whole section, and there's only a couple others that I saw come up. So even back there in that weedy area, there should be some potato plants, and maybe there are, but again, I didn't clear it. And I also hate to admit, but the other section that I have potatoes, or maybe had potatoes, was here. This was that section that I think I weeded it 3, at least maybe 4 times this season, and I just could not keep up with it. So in there somewhere are either some potatoes waiting to be dug up, or some dead rotting potatoes that will just be fertilizer for the ground for next year. But potatoes is something that we really like and we really enjoy, so I try to grow those every year, but this year they just haven't really been on my focus list. The green beans continue to produce beautifully and are mostly healthy. Just in the last couple days, these leaves were not like this before. I'll have to look up what that is. Might be some kind of fungus. I don't think it's due to being too dry. The soil isn't dry, and other plants are doing well and not looking dry, so I'll have to look that up. But they're still producing a lot of green beans. I came down and harvested another round even after that video where I showed myself harvesting some, so we're doing good there. Of course, all the lettuce plants growing in amongst the weeds, they are also doing well. More lettuce than we need. The original tomato plants that I planted are doing great as well. Still haven't turned red yet, but look at that. We've got some really good fruit coming on in several areas here. And I'm going to check these again today, but I don't really see any new signs of tomato hornworms. So like I said, and as you can probably tell now, looking at this a week and then 2 weeks apart, in comparison to what we dealt with the cabbage worms on the broccoli, these are, as I had mentioned previously, a whole lot easier to manage, the tomato hornworms on tomato plants. The peas are also doing well. These over here I think have started to dry up, which is not unusual, but I've picked quite a few off of these, and those were the first ones that I planted. So it might just be that they're done for the season. I didn't have very many successful pea plants last year to let them get to this point. This is kind of fun though. This is a volunteer carrot there. I did not put a carrot seed there, but that is clearly a carrot plant. So we'll give that some time and see what comes up. More lettuce. From this acorn squash plant on this side, we have this one trailing out this way, making more acorn squash for us. And in amongst here are the carrot plants. So that's a big weed that I need to get rid of. These are carrot plants, and I just realized today in looking at this that these carrot plants are being a little bit smothered by the acorn squash, so I'll have to come down here and figure something out for that. And then here are the rest of my carrot plants. We'll do a close-up. They're looking like they're ready. What I need to do is go look at my planting schedule and see when I planted these. They might actually be ready to harvest now. If not, we are very close to that, obviously. I can tell by the height of the carrot plant, but also by the fact that this is what it's looking like as it's pushing up out of the ground. Now, I mentioned before, so I'll mention again in this video in case you hadn't seen it. Here's my hand for reference, and you're going, oh, that looks like it's going to be a really big carrot. When I was learning gardening tips and tricks and things like that, this was one of the things. Oh, hey, brush away the dirt at the top of the carrot, and if it looks like a carrot that is ready and something you might see at the grocery store with the top of it being large like this, then it's probably ready to go. So pull it and you're all set. I found that to just not be true, unfortunately. The carrots were fat at the top, short and stubby at the bottom. There are several reasons for that. As I've mentioned before, carrots are picky about their soil, their nutrients, type of soil in particular. It has to be a little bit on the sandy side, definitely on the loose side, no matter what kind of soil it is. It can't be compacted because then it can't push straight down with the roots and grow the actual carrot. So before I pull anything out of the ground, I'm going to look at my planting schedule and see if it's time. And here's the secondary tomato plant that I put here. That is doing really well also. I've got a few tomato fruits in there. And it's growing right next to this very massive pumpkin plant. This one is starting to have what looks like some kind of squash variety of pumpkin on it. So that will be interesting. And again, these are just a bunch of decorative pumpkin plants growing in here. And they're from seeds that I saved from decorative pumpkins that I've bought over the last couple of years. So they've cross-pollinated with each other. They're coming out similar, or the same to what I bought, but they won't be true to their original selves. So like this one, it's looking more like some kind of squash, but I have no idea what it is, so that will be fun. This one here, kind of right across from it and near the trellis that I put for the second set of peas that I was attempting, those didn't do very well. It was probably the timing of the planting, and it was really hot when I did that, so I was taking a risk. We only have a few of those peas left, and they're starting to dry up too, but we'll get a little bit of something out of them. And back to this pumpkin plant though, I intentionally put it over here knowing that the peas trellis isn't really being used by the peas, so I don't mind if this pumpkin plant starts to pull up or at least use this trellis as a guide. This section of the pumpkin plant can also trellis up this. That would be good for it, just so that it's not all laying on the ground. I also wanted to show you the pumpkin plants that I cleaned out heavily and where I had to retrain the vines that were growing on those. These are a couple of examples right here. So that long vine and this long vine, it goes back to, I believe, that plant right there. And then even over here, this stuff right here was all laying down on its side. And if you watched that prior video, I mentioned that you could try to help prop the leaves of the pumpkin plant up again to try and get them to face more towards the sky like they're supposed to and like they want to, that the plant would right itself and do that. And this is a very beautiful example of that. Both of these right here. Basically all of the leaves are standing up straight and pointing towards the sky. That one back there is also a phenomenal example. It was almost leaned over to the ground. I helped try to prop it up a little bit with a couple of stones just to turn it in that direction. But they are standing basically straight up, and see where they were laying down, and then the stalk and the leaf curved in order to reach back up towards the sun. So they did an amazing job. They did what they're supposed to do, and things are looking good. This is my row of parsnips, and they're doing what they can. They should be a lot taller by now, but that's okay. They're supposed to stay in the ground for, I think, through October here where I'm at. Basically, it's okay for them to stay in the ground, I think, through the first 1 or 2 frosts or the first, like, several really cold days that you have in the fall. It makes them sweeter, so they've still got time to catch up. And there's 2 reasons that they aren't bigger, stronger, looking a little different than this. And that is that I didn't plant these quite on schedule. I think I was 2 weeks late from the schedule that they should have been planted on, as well as our sunlight issue on this end of the garden with all of these trees and even some of that foliage there that's just blocking any extra light that's coming in. We got a couple of those branches cut down, which we featured in a prior video, but we still haven't actually removed all the foliage from that end of the garden. So that is on the list. And then our bell pepper plants. So I have 2 varieties of those growing next to each other, or rather I did, and I attempted to do that. That second row over there I think is the purple bell pepper. This one is a red bell pepper, or you can also eat them while they're green. So I'll get red, green, and purple potentially out of this group. There's another one that's doing decent, but this was also a sunlight issue here, as well as the slugs. Oh, and I learned the hard way that tomato hornworms apparently also enjoy pepper plants. I found a really big fat one over here. I don't know if it was that hole or the other one on the other side of it, but it had nipped off the very top and left just like this little stalk, trailed away, and then it was starting to eat on this one. So I found it on there. Picked it off and got rid of it. I also saw slugs really enjoying these when they were just coming up out of the ground. We had some pest problems on this side of the garden in addition to the sunlight issue. These ones that are really small were my attempts at a second planting when I realized that bugs were eating some of the original plants. That's why they're a whole lot smaller, and I don't know how far they'll get, if anything at all, but it was worth trying. And I finally got that new landscape cloth down over this section that we had weeded, and we're really trying to maintain it. I got the cloth to go over all of the existing plants. So that included my blueberry bushes along the back here, and then the rhubarb along the front. So it's looking great. It's going to be so much better going forward. This will be an area that I don't have to spend a whole lot of time weeding. And these plants are doing well for now. And then I think we'll just leave the front space here for a bit of walking space, and won't plant anything in front of the rhubarb plants. But we can go all the way down to the other end of the garden now, and next year I'll plant more things down there once we have the sunlight issue remedied. Alright, well that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks for checking in on us. I will keep you updated with more from the garden as we go forward here. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video, tell other people about our channel, and we'll see you next time.